Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the Anagolay Treasury proposal and highlight a couple of things that we would like to transmit. Let's start with the context. The key idea behind the functionality we propose is to make supporting quality work easier without sacrificing accountability. By implementing tip-as-you-go functionality for verified creators, we directly address two issues being frequently brought up in the community. First, increasing engagement in the existing community, like content creation, code contributions, participation in discussions, treasury discussions, for example, and most importantly, bringing new audiences to Polkadot and Dotsama. It's important to address those two topics together, as a vibrant community is prerequisite for the ecosystem growth. A common denominator for those two, community engagement and expansion, is incentives, whether monetary or not. So it's fair to suggest that by improving the tooling, simplifying and democratizing the ways to incentivize contributions for everyone, we can give a substantial boost to the existing Polkadot community and create and test the ways of serving much wider audiences. Now, moving to the team background. Community contributions for verified creators is not just an idea that we propose to start working on. All in all, our team has been working on Anagolay for over 3 years, and for over a year now, we've been specifically focusing on building the base functionality to make what we propose in the scope of this proposal possible. You can see in the proposal itself all the links. So particularly recently, we delivered verification and tipping palettes under the Web3 Foundation grant. Also, the first verification strategy for web domains and user interface is already implemented. You can test it yourself via a link, and I will also include in a comment to this video a demo for how to go through the verification process. Additionally, I'll add the step-by-step tutorial guide which we prepared, which guides you through the process how to verify the domain and also how to install the Anagolay extension, which allows you to send tips already to the verified domains. Let's check it here. Hey, so in this account I don't have enough funds. But you can see that Anagolay dev here is a verified creators, and as soon as I top up my wallet with IDI token, I can start sending tips. But yeah, again, the full demo I will attach in the comments to this video. It's worth pointing out that overwhelming majority of the development done so far been funded, we are self-funded, so it's been funded by Daniel and myself. Some parts of it were supported by Web3 Foundation grants, 2 of them specifically, which are listed here. For additional team's background checkup, also feel free to review our retrospective of all things that we've done in 2022 in this blog post under this link. And well, as for the legal entity, all the development of Anagolay so far has been carried out by Kelp Digital OÜ, an Estonian-based company established by Daniel and myself back in May 2021. You can see the full team for the project with all the links provided to LinkedIn and GitHubs in here. And the reason we go for this treasury proposal is to be able to maintain the current team, as for, frankly, for the last half a year, we've been bootstrapping, heavily bootstrapping. With the current treasury proposal, if it gets approved, we will be able to maintain the current team working full-time to finalize what we've started and what we've been working on for over a year now. And also the idea is to hire 2 more new people to join the team so we can finalize it under a reasonable time frame. As in the creative economy market, things moving quite fast, and timing is clearly of the essence here. So with that, moving on to the problem statement, we truly believe that monetizing and supporting creative work should be simpler, work across platform, and be equally accessible to everyone. Currently, what we see that creator support and subscription management are being dominated by just a few Web2 players. And it's a huge market that exceeds by number of its users, at least tenfold the number of users which are and creators which are somewhat familiar with the Web3 already. So we've studied this market well enough, and we understand the pain points of each segment of it: the full-time professional creators, the part-time wannabe creators, which includes visual artists, photographers, musicians, content creators, and open source developers. And people who actually do not even engage much currently because, well, they are being undeserved. So, but the best thing, I'm not going to dig in too much in here. I'll also share our deck in the links for those of you who want to dig in and see a little bit more on the business side. The best thing that all of those pain points can be addressed by implementing a solution based on the very 4 principles that Polkadot stands for: scalability, interoperability, flexibility, and interconnectivity. That's the very point that tip as you go functionality, which works with multiple tokens across platform, is about to bring. Right, so let's see if the market is so awesome. What's going on in there so far? So the closest alternative so far to what we propose with Anagolay is Brave Creators. It's an initiative by Brave browser where creators can verify their domains and subdomains and start receiving tips. But unlike with Anagolay, it's limited to only the Brave browser. The tips can be sent only in BAT tokens. The verification process is not transparent, not being frequently updated. Right, but also since we are talking about Polkadot ecosystem and implementing this at the scale of the ecosystem first, we're also thinking about how to make it more applicable and more useful to the ecosystem from the get-go right away. So we also consider the tipping functionality, which is done not directly from a personal account, but also tips suggested from a treasury. So later on in the scope of the proposal, we're going to talk how we improve on that as well. Now, moving on to the objectives. Within the scope of this proposal, we want to make public identity verification and tipping functionality available ecosystem-wide, which means introducing additional means for everyone in the ecosystem to support quality contribution, like content creation or development. So this includes improving on the existing palettes for the verification and tipping and updating them in accordance to what the functionality that we will be adding next. Additional channels, namely YouTube, Twitter, GitHub accounts, and Git repositories, and Mastodon. Why those channels? That's where you can see in the attachment the statistics for the Brave creators from Brave. That's our main market study. Serves a great purpose showing which channels are most demanded. So it makes sense for us to start with the same. Additionally, we're also going to specify the tips not just generally to the general account, but we want to build functionality to make it possible to support particular pull request, a comment, a tweet, or a specific YouTube video. Also introduce new features like recurring subscriptions and subscription management. The users will be able to create tiers, specifying the amount for their content per channel, notifications when the creator gets tipped. And we're also going to significantly improve the user interface. You can already see what's been done so far, but obviously there is room for the improvement, especially given all the additional functionality that we're going to include. And last but not least, we within the scope of this proposal, we're going to improve the process of suggesting a tip for Polkadot and Kusama Treasury. Side note, we're also thinking of including enabling this for other treasuries in the ecosystem as well. Well, for well-established projects like Kelp and Moonbeam, but we yet to see whether there is an interest for that. And yeah, so the idea is with just Anagolay extension and pull request submitters GitHub username verified, anybody can propose a tip and select to which treasury it will go. No bots, no servers, and works on every repository, not just a couple of selected ones. Okay, and well, I think we already touched on the value quite a few times, but you can quite clearly see that we define the value per stage and for each segment in terms of the users and in terms of the existing ecosystem. It's nicely kind of highlighted and summed up in the Anagolay audience map over here. And the important thing to mention here that all of those audiences are intertwined. And the idea is that while implementing it initially at the scale of the Polkadot ecosystem, well, first, we want to bring some value right away, but most importantly, we test this solution for scaling with an idea that ultimately we can serve all the digital content creators in the space and the digital space, and become an entry point for the creators who are still wary of the Web3. They have no idea what DeFi is. They are not really engaged with the NFTs, but they manage their audiences, they run social media, and what we propose is highly relevant to them. And once they start getting tips in the tokens of the Polkadot ecosystem, why not explore what else it has to offer? So yeah, and well, Brave Creators by Brave are here as well, as we think it's important to highlight that there is a proven market with 1.7 million creators verified with Brave, given its limited functionality, and we offer a superior solution to that. So we can target those guys right away, including with the creators which currently use Web2 solutions, which obviously will require a little bit more effort and education, and also much smoother user experience to get them. Now moving on to milestones and deliverables. So within the first milestone, we are going to focus on implementing the new verification strategies for all those channels. And you can see the costs allocation and time allocation split in this table: YouTube, Twitter, GitHub, Git repository, and Mastodon. Not just in table format, you can switch to the timeline over here and see the timing. It's also clickable and split per specific task under each strategy. Right. Obviously, at the end of the milestone and then of each milestone, we're going to be doing that. Sharing all the tutorials, demos, and documentation on Anagolay blog, and making announcements and posts on in the usual places, Polkadot forum, Polka Assembly, and Subsquare. We're also going to host a live demo for the community to see how the things work, and obviously do everything we can to get as many people in the community to get start using this functionality as possible. Moving on to the milestone 2. The second milestone, on top of what didn't build before, we're going to scale the functionality. And in addition to individual tips, we are going to build much needed recurring subscriptions and introduce tiers so that creators can set up specific tiers to the channels implemented previously, enabling users to set up custom subscription per selected tier, and enabling edit, remove, and connect, disconnect functionality for a channel per tier. I'm not going to read on the full list of deliverables. You can see it all in here. And at the end of the milestone, of course, we provide the cost allocation with the amount of hours in team dedicated for each task. And in the third and last milestone, we are going to bring much requested functionality for enabling support over specific GitHub PR, and also suggesting tips through Polkadot and Kusama Treasury. That's on one side. And for the rest of the channels, instead of supporting an account or a Twitter account, YouTube account, in general, we'll bring the functionality of supporting a specific tweet, a specific YouTube video, or in case of GitHub even comments. You can see the specific runtime task and execution task provided in here. And as for the community and marketing activities, obviously by the end of the third milestone, we should have enough features ready. So we'll focus on growing the user base. And at the beginning, we're going to track number of verifications and number of tips sent as our main KPIs, while presenting the results and deliverables of the third milestone. We'll also share the number of verifications and tips sent. Actually, there was a very good question asked by Raul in the Treasury proposal, asking to specify how exactly we're going to attract users, diving into the marketing and user acquisition plan, which is answered here. But I have to say that since we're talking about the wider audience here and actually scaling the solution already, so those strategies, like in order to start with those strategies, we need to have the basic functionality built first, which is exactly what's proposed in the scope of this grant. That's an essential step for us to move forward. And in terms of KPIs as well, I extend here my answer a bit. So yes, initially it's verifications per channel to see which channels actually demanded the most, so we can drive our decisions for later, and the number of tips sent. But later on, once the solution is feature complete, we'll start prioritizing such KPIs and number of channels verified per user, as the idea is actually to unify the community management. That's the main advantage and value proposition for the creators outside the ecosystem, and also the volume of recurring subscription and the dynamics in terms of how it changes. All right. The costs, you can see the cost split in terms of runtime tasks, execution tasks, community and marketing tasks in here. And additionally, in terms of enabling functionality of suggesting a tip from Treasury, you can see a chart here showing how a tip can be proposed to endorse a user based on just their GitHub handler without even knowing their address. All right, so we covered the part why Polkadot already. The sci-fi, nice and clear. And now to the payment conditions. I think the most controversial part of the proposal and the one that's been commented on the most so far. So when suggesting the upfront payment, our logic was that 5 months runway is really not much, especially given that the team being bootstrapped so far, and we are planning to have 2 more hires in order to deliver the scope of this proposal, which is quite a lot to wrap up under the 5 months timing. And obviously, given that we've been building this for a long time and we have huge and ambitious plans right after, so the scope of this proposal is standing in between, but it's kind of a crucial bottleneck, which will define whether we can move forward with the project and scale it and roll out and continue with everything that we see being highly relevant for the ecosystem and for the digital creative market as a whole. So, but valid comments, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the council will vote. And now here we have some of the questions answered, which were suggested at the discussion stage. It would be definitely useful to have more feedback regarding concerns with the amount requested and the amount requested at the upfront payment and the discussion stage. But we didn't have such feedback, so we just went ahead with what seemed reasonable to us, right? So to cover a few questions which popped up at the discussion stage, yes, obviously it makes sense to make this available to the other wallets in the ecosystem, since they have established user base, and there is no point in introducing yet another wallet. Hard to argue with that. So that's exactly what we are doing. Other wallets can integrate the functionality that we built in here via JS SDK. And we also started some potential collaboration talks with Talisman and Subwallet. So we'll see. We'll see how that unfolds. But I presume the guys also would like to see some functionality in action and see how it works before moving forward. The community reporting, well, I already covered that. Is there some form of KYC involved in the verification process? Well, that's a great question, which is basically the entire Anagolay development portal is dedicated to answering that. And yes, the verification is purely done around cryptographic proofs, which are connected to the substrate address, which in turn contains a KYC on any substrate network or identity palette that's not on the Anagolay side. And you can check Anagolay workflows and what they are to see how we do it and how we do with the verification. But that's the scope for completely yet another video. I might include also in the comments the explanation of the workflows that we previously recorded. And lastly, yes, I think I also covered that previously, but just to briefly go through it, why those channels, that's actually covered here in the annex. Again, the brave creators provided us with a great market study. You can see which channels are the most popular in terms of verification for them. So we kind of alter this a little bit in terms of what makes sense for the ecosystem and in terms of current state of the market. Well, the only thing that we don't have, and definitely makes sense to include, is Twitch. But, well, we might do it as a bonus with an implementation of this grant. If not, it's the very next strategy that we're going to be putting, connecting and putting on. Right, and if you don't have time to check the tutorials, here you can see how the extension looks like, and just some high-level bullet points about the Anagolay extension and the Anagolay application, where creators can verify and connect their channels. Obviously, that's just the current interface. We're going to improve it within the scope of this grant. Right, and one last thing that I would like to briefly mention before we wrap up, that's a side project that we put together in a couple of weeks while actually waiting on the developments with the Treasury proposal. The Dotsama.info, currently just a proof of concept, but we intended to become a comprehensive directory for all things built on Polkadot and Kusama. Currently, the focus is on chain discovery and pallet discovery, but I'm not going to dive in too much into the demo of the project itself. We have a separate video for that, which for those interested, I will share in the comment as well. Quite a lengthy list in the comments for now. What I would like to highlight that with this use case, we actually want to leverage Anagolay technology proposed within the scope of the current Treasury proposal. As you can see for now, that's as it's an early proof of concept, we just, as an example, filled in the information for our networks, the things that we know very well, Anagolay and EDNI. So you can see all the details in here for the chain discovery. But for the rest of the projects in here, we just exported the data available in the Polkadot network discovery. So we can see that it's not much of information in here, which obviously needs to be added. And the coolest part that the projects don't need to do it themselves. Anyone in the community, in a Kala community or in general Polkadot community, can create a PR to edit or update the data. And later on, they can be incentivized and rewarded for the job well done if they did a quality job. One important part here is how do we verify the authenticity and correctness of data. Well, before merging and PR, we'll need a contribution, an acknowledgement, public acknowledgement from the team that the data provided in the PR is correct. Here's all the how-to and the guideline. But yes, again, not to dive in the details too much. Just a quick overview of proof of concept of how democratizing the incentives can be brought to the ecosystem in this case. So with this quick use case overview, an additional use case, how what we built is already relevant within the ecosystem even before we scale it to the wider audience, I would like to wrap it up. And I hope that we can continue working full on to streamline and democratize the process to support quality work and creators of original content within the ecosystem and beyond. Thank you for bearing with me all this time. And I am happy to answer any further questions, either in the discussion on the Polka assembly or on Element. Thank you very much.